So, I've been away 2 weeks, but during that time, it's become very clear to me that nothing will stop the British mainstream media's campaign. That's right, a campaign to bring about the end of Boris Johnson's leadership. This craven crusade is as exhausting as it is boring, but at its heart, it's actually very sinister and undemocratic, because our major broadcasters know that if they make the Prime Minister's leadership the focus of every news cycle, the government becomes paralysed. That's exactly what the Brexit-hating BBC, ITV News, Channel 4 News and Sky News want. But the Conservative Party must not buy into their games. To use the famous Brexit phrase, they must take back control. So the MSM might not want to acknowledge it, but there was a confidence vote. Boris won. And the Tory party rules state there cannot be another vote for a year. End of story. But it's not, according to the media, who have now become obsessed with the Tory 1922 committee changing the rules in order to depose Boris in another 6 months. Yep, it's exhausting. It's distracting. I repeat, it's a campaign.
It's not just voters, it's also your backbenchers. Whether you like it or disagree with them, they're now talking back home about changing the 22 rules again for another confidence vote.
Which criticisms of you do you think have a point, are fair?
You've suggested you're preparing for a third term. Much of your party thinks you won't survive this one. Talk of a third term is delusional.
Do you think the Prime Minister has the full support of his cabinet at the moment?
Yes.
Well, apart from the one that resigned last week.
Of course. And so Oliver Dowden has resigned, and he resigned.
So he was an outlier and there's no others.
I'm not hearing you say, I've heard what the voters have said and I am going to change.
The biggest distraction within your party is not policy, it is your leader. Your leader is the biggest distraction.
So, there you go. The campaign is on. The Tories, even the Tory rebels, must be very careful not to tear down the party's reputation by marching to the beat of the craven mainstream media's drum. Those folk hate Boris and always have, because he delivered Brexit and smashed Labour's red wall less than 3 years ago. Talk of changing the rules so another leadership challenge can be launched in 6 months. That's the sort of Mickey Mouse stunt I'd expect from the RMT, the BBC or the SNP, not the Conservatives. What I'd love the media to focus on is the fact a Labour-Lib Dem pact is now in play, even though both sides won't admit it, and could lead the UK to hell in a handbasket at the next election if we're not careful. At least Starmer leadership rival Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham has the balls to say it publicly. Writing in The Observer yesterday, he said the time has come for a complete rewiring of Britain and for my own party to talk openly and seriously with others who feel the same. If the other parties are open to a new approach, Thursday's results suggest a change of government becomes not just achievable, but highly likely. So that's what Labour and the Lib Dems are playing at. And while things do look bleak for the Tories at the moment, I'll admit it, there certainly is no momentum behind slippery Starmer, who remains stubbornly unimpressive and with only a couple of points lead in most opinion polls. No wonder many Labour bigwigs quietly hope the Durham police put an end to his lacklustre leadership when they deliver their Beargate findings. But for Boris to succeed, he must change course by cutting the talk of tax cuts and doing it, even if it means falling out with his Chancellor Rishi Sunak. As one of the UK's leading economists, Dr Gerard Lyons, wrote at the weekend, the Chancellor needs to break out of the groupthink at the Treasury where they resist tax cuts. Here's the menu, by the way, of tax cuts that I believe could save his premiership. He should slash fuel duty, scrap green levies on energy bills, reverse the national insurance increase and halt the planned corporation tax rise. Just imagine how a tax cut agenda, giving folk money back into their pockets as the cost of living crisis really bites, would immediately change the narrative for Boris.